welcome back to the Just Us Thinking Aftershow. I'm Michael.
And this is Rebecca.
And I'm Mikey.
And we have a good show, but first...
Do you like stories about haunted locations? Or maybe tales of cryptids and spooky folklore from around the world? If so, why not tune in to Haunted Escapes with Chris and Diane, where all this and more will be discussed. New episodes drop every Sunday, with visual versions the following Friday on YouTube. So why not come join us on our Haunted Escapes?
And back to our show here. And this is the after show for Teachers Packin Heat.
It is, yeah.
So now our guest is gone. Chad is gone.
He is, yeah. It was good to have him on again.
It is. And it's going to be interesting because me and him are having the new adventures of TAP, which is going to be the American Armory podcast. So...
yeah, you guys are going to have fun with that, aren't you?
Yep. No, we've already recorded episodes, so hopefully when this episode drops, it's going to be like right behind this one. So
okay.
That's yeah. So for those that want a little bit more, as far as firearms, gun safety, things of that nature, that's kind of it's going to approach firearms in a safe manner, and it's going to be educational. That
is good.
So
yeah, hopefully some people out there can get good information from you guys.
Well, we're hoping. So let's go back over to Teachers Packin Heat, though. So
all right,
what do you think?
I was really surprised that it's actually already legal in like 32 other states.
Well, I think we covered it. So Nebraska and Iowa are not groundbreakers by any means.
Iowa kind of is, aren't they?
No. Iowa's a bandwagon jumping state. So
I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah. Now Nebraska, I will say Iowa is a lot better when it comes to Nebraska.
Yeah.
They are too. They're next door, a lot of the same values, but Iowa's like, yep, things are changing, so let's jump on that and go. Okay. And Nebraska's like, no, we like the way we do things here. We like the 1920s.
We can't change anything.
It's kind of crazy.
Except for your taxes.
Right. So
we'll just keep those going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So now here's the question I have, especially when we're talking about these new laws that are going into effect here.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, because we all know hindsight's 2020, right?
Yes, it is.
So with that said, what if these new laws where teachers could carry a firearm and they had this ability and take that to apply to any of the school shootings before?
Oh, I mean, there's always that possibility that it could have prevented it or made it not as bad as it turned out to be.
See, and I have to agree. I have to look at it and say, so what was that story of that teacher like jumped in front of a couple kids and took a bullet for those kids and he's like a hero and he died?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what if he was one teacher that says, I would like to, I don't want to hurt any kids, but if push comes to shove, there's a possibility that it could have ended a shooting a lot sooner.
Yeah, it would have been a whole different story for, not only him and his family, but for the other kids.
And then you have to look at how many kids died after that point that could have been prevented if these laws were there.
Yeah.
And then here's the other thing that I have to look at too. I know Chad said it. A lot of people are like, if someone wants to do the most amount of damage with the least amount of resistance, let me put it this way. bank robbers are not going to pick a bank that's right next to the police department, okay?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
That's not a very smart move.
Right. They go, okay, well, this is a prime location because it's right off the freeway. The police station's on the other side of town. You know, there's like that planning to know where they can go, right?
Right.
I think the school shooters are the same way. They know that they could get in there, and they know if they have a police officer or a resource officer, they know they have one. So if I go in the back door and he's at the front door, I could do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
So what they think that way. I don't want them to think that way, but they do. It's a criminal mind.
Yeah.
So with that said, can you imagine that you have these kids that are coming in there and they're like, I don't know, Mr. Johnson might be packing. Would that have changed their minds as far as saying, yeah, maybe it's not a good idea to go shoot up that school because Mr. Johnson will come out of the camp and he'd blow me away.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I think it would be a good deterrent.
I wish some of these would have been in effect earlier.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see this option earlier. And I think the problem that comes into it is most people that are opposed to this are living into a big city, and they're used to resources that they kind of, I don't want to say they take advantage of them, but I think they think everywhere is like that.
Yeah.
And they have to understand that not every school has the resources that their kids are going to or their deal, and they're looking at from one side of it, not a all-encompassing how is this going to affect everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's kind of crazy.
That is. I mean, it's sad that the world has come to this, to be honest. I mean,
it is. So, and we're going to get into that too, because I want to say, I think teachers have really lost a lot of their respect and power in a classroom.
Oh yeah, they definitely have.
And we've talked about this a little bit with Mikey's school.
Yeah.
Kids on their cell phones all day.
Yep.
Don't listen to the teachers. And I will say all the teachers have said the same thing. Remember?
Yeah.
What do they say?
Everybody's on their phone. Everybody, just does what they want, I guess, pretty much.
Yeah, and they said all the same thing. They're like, oh, what can I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of crazy.
I know when I was in high school, you didn't dare talk back or...
Well, you got in trouble. And
yeah.
Here's the thing. I think what happened is, I remember if my teacher said they're going to call my parents...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You did not want that happen.
No. And even just the threat of it was enough, right? I mean,
oh, yeah.
They're like, Miss Rebecca, if you mess up one more time, I'm going to have to call your mother. And you shaped up real quick, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
I did too. There was a bit of, because I knew if I didn't do what I was doing, I might get my ass whooped when I get home.
Right.
Now, it happens. I mean, that's what happens. But it's kind of crazy that they lost that.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of the kids, like one big thing is like the violence. I mean, kids are a lot more violent these days.
Right. And I agree.
You can't I guess one of the big things is there's no punishment really for them anymore either.
I think that's the problem. So here's my problem. I like this law. I like the way this is going to go. But what happens if one of these kids pushes that teacher? And if for some reason they find out Mr. Johnson's packing,
yeah.
Mr. Johnson's a concealed carry person and he's in that school, what happens if a kid finds out and says, what are you going to do, shoot me? And then really challenges him in there just to push that authority. Now, Mr. Johnson, of course, can't pull out his gun and shoot him.
Right.
But everybody's going to... And then, it's like once you get that challenge, you're kind of dog meat.
Yeah.
You got prison rules in there, right?
And, you also have the threat of, 3 or 4 or 5 students ganging up on Mr. Johnson too. And I don't know. You know my stance on it. I think Mr. Johnson should just all
shoot him in the knee.
Shoot him in the knee, yeah. Take care of that problem.
Yep. Walk to your next class now, bitch.
Yep. See how you like that.
So now I'm also a firm believer of knowing what the school is teaching my kids, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I also don't think the school should be parenting my kids at the same time.
Right.
Okay, so now there's a line there. There is a line.
Okay.
I think they should be educated. It's education. So I think core curriculums, learning new things. There should be a lot of stuff that the school should be doing, and there's some things that I don't really believe they should be doing.
Yeah, they need to take that new math stuff and just kick that out the door.
Yeah.
Because that's just not right.
It is kind of confusing, but it's not only that, but there's a lot of, like, I don't know, teaching alternative thought thinking and stuff like that.
Lifestyle
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with. Replace that stuff with, shop and home ec and how to cook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm
I
okay
mean,
with
if
that.
they want to have like a club for it, like after school, I think that's okay. But
I agree.
I don't think that should be like a class, like keep it out of the classroom.
Yeah. And
it can be an after school extracurricular type thing.
Okay. So, and those clubs are optional. So
Right.
yeah, if you want to join a club and do whatever you want, go for it. I agree with that. I think the problem is you have some parents that are trying to tell the teachers how to teach, and then you have some teachers that are trying to parent the kids. And I think I want to say someone needs to come in and say, nope, this is your job, this is our job. A clear definition of jobs and what is happening, I think, needs to happen.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, that is a good point. So
I also want, like, a lot of parents, the problem is there's a lot of parents that are not parenting their kids.
yeah, that's a big issue.
Yeah. And when I think that's where the teachers have lost some of the power.
Yeah.
So when you have, what are you going to do? You're going to take away, little Joey's phone, and then mom's going to come over and say, that phone's broken, and it was $1,000. Now you owe me that money for the $1,000 phone.
Well, you shouldn't have given your kid $1,000 phone and had him take it to school.
I agree with that.
I mean,
there's so much real in what you just said.
I mean, seriously, come on now. You don't go buy a kid $1,000 phone where they're gonna like drop it, probably get it lost.
But they're going to blame the teacher because the teacher took it from them, and now the parents are mad at the teacher. They're not mad. They're mad at the teacher rather than the kid having it out in class, so they're getting mad at the wrong reason.
Well, the teacher needs to take a lesson from Chad. I won't repeat it, but they need to take a lesson from Chad.
You're not going to say it?
No.
Okay. I'm good with that. No, I agree. And I remember this on like bus drivers too. Bus drivers, teachers, bus drivers, they're all the same thing too.
I feel sorry for those bus drivers.
So when you had kids acting up, I remember some kid acting up. My bus driver got up, grabbed that guy by the back collar, drug his ass off the bus, and threw him off. You can't do that anymore.
Well, and nowadays, I don't know if they had him when Mikey was still riding the bus, but I think now they have like people that ride along with them in case there are issues on the bus. Did you have those?
We did not have those. We had cameras on the buses.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, so now, I mean, like the bus drivers now will like just pull over and say, I'm not going anywhere until you guys settle down, or they'll turn back to school and they'll all get a lecture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is and again, it's a thin line on how you handle this.
I'd be like, shut up. I'm going to smack you back into your reality.
I want to say kids don't have the respect for the older generation as they used to be.
They don't.
Now, here's the problem. You go back to us, and we had the same problems. Don't get me wrong. There was we had a whole nother problem there. But there was also not cameras, so when our bus driver smacked the crap out of us, they didn't get caught, and you learned real quick. So there was a healthy amount of fear to not do something stupid.
But there was still enough when I was on the bus. There was enough that, they told you like 1 or 2 times, and that was all it took for you to settle down. Yeah. Otherwise, you were going to either get it at school or get it at home, one of the two.
And I think here's the problem. I don't think they're getting it at home anymore. I think with the way the atmosphere and how things are changed, you can't whoop your kids.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, you were bad, so it's time to get the belt or the switch. I mean,
yeah.
I remember hearing stories from my father saying, Mom told us to go pick our own switch, and if we picked something too small, she'd go pick up something bigger. There was a bit of healthy fear in making sure you did. There's repercussions. Let me put it that way. What are the repercussions now? Like nothing. Right. There really isn't. And here's also the other problem too. There are either no repercussions, or those repercussions are so bad and so outrageous that it's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, so zero tolerance. I hate zero tolerance. Okay. Zero tolerance is stupid. So if someone walks up and starts to punch you, okay, and you turn around and they're continuing, so you block a punch and punch them back. Because you threw a punch, zero tolerance, you're out. Regardless of what happened,
of who
you're
started
done.
It. Yeah.
And that's the problem, is you're not giving these kids a healthy outlet. Kids get in fist fights. I did.
Yeah.
We all did when we were young. They're not allowed to do that anymore. So all that gets pent up and grown, and then it festers to what it is now.
Exactly.
I don't know. What do you? I don't know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm like, this world is crazy. It's gone crazy.
No, I think that's part of the problem with these kids getting a hold of firearms and stuff like that. Now, you can sit there and say, "Oh, I don't think they should be. Kids shouldn't have access to guns." If a 16-year-old wants to get access to a gun, I hate to say it, but they can.
Right. They're going to find it no matter whether or not their parents have it locked up or not.
Right. Because they know how to operate a key at this point, and they can do that kind of stuff.
Or they're going to, be a criminal and go get it illegally.
Right. So, I mean, if you're the parent that thinks your kid is all innocent and never does anything wrong, but somehow they know all what their Christmas presents are because they know where your hiding place is. Come on now. Let's be honest with you. Kids are inquisitive little shits.
Right.
They just are.
Yeah.
So, now don't get me wrong, as they get older, they're better. The littler crotch goblins aren't so bad. They can't get into too much, and you could get stuff high enough.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, but and even then, next thing you know, you see that little toddler, on standing on top of the refrigerator trying to get the stuff where the cookie jar is in the top of the refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
They find ways.
Oh yeah, they can definitely always find a way.
So now I'm sure you growing up, you remember doing stuff like that too.
Oh yeah.
Now it was never really probably destructive, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't that bad.
We got into shit. I mean, we got into problems. They came home and they came home with something that they were trying to hide from you. Obviously, that curiosity got to you, and you had to know what it was.
Yeah.
So kids do that. So kids, and this is where the difference is, especially when it comes with firearms. I think education trumps hiding things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Make them aware of what's going on, and don't hide it so it's like this, oh, I could do this, and I don't know. I think just leaving it out in the open and saying, hey, this is dangerous, this is what it is, educating instead of hiding it from them.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's the way to do it, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I also think that parents need to start being a parent.
Oh, yeah.
Our economy has changed a lot of that because now both parents are working. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy, and I guess what it comes down to is I think you have parents out there that didn't really, I guess they didn't want to be parents, or they did want to be parents, but they didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, a lot. I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. And then instead of trying to, I don't know, do things the right way, they kind of try to just say, I'll leave it alone and it'll do it on its own, right?
Right.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Because those core first years are very, very important. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that regardless of your marital status or whatever it is, you might hate your ex-wife, you might hate your ex-husband, but if you're co-parenting, you guys got to be on the same page.
Yeah, that definitely would help.
So taking a kid away from one of their parents, whether it be the mother or the father, is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
A kid should grow up with a mother figure and a father figure.
Yeah.
It's crucial in evolution for humans. I hate to say it that way, but it does. Now, a lot of people are gonna, and I don't want to take flack from, the other communities that say, well, what about, two men or two women and something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to address that. I normally don't. I'm going to address that. We're going to kick this right in the teeth here.
All right.
In a relationship, there is and I'm going to call them a mother role and a father role. Okay. There is.
There is. Yeah.
And it's more of a alpha and beta role. Okay? Alpha, beta. There is someone that's clearly in charge of the relationship and that you get a lot of the hard stuff from.
Yeah.
And then there's the beta. So father's alpha, mother's beta.
Okay.
That's generally the roles that we have here.
Okay.
That does not by any means mean that the female cannot be an alpha.
Yeah.
And the man can be a beta.
Okay.
That's perfectly acceptable, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, I like to see a little bit more relationships that are like that. I would like the woman to step up and take charge, and you're my bitch, man. Get on. I joke, but I mean, I like to see, and that's the other thing with a lot of these roles are, we have those here.
Yeah.
Now, I think those roles aren't just set in stone either, because there's some times where when it comes to a certain decision, you're the one that's making the decision. I'm like, I don't care. I play the secondary role for that.
Yeah.
You can take the main role. So I think that a good dynamic has to be, both parties have to be able to do one or both on different subjects. So that means in whatever relationship you have a very strong dominant personality.
Right.
And then kind of a little bit of a submissive personality that has to be there.
Okay.
And it's nice for a kid to get a good picture in that is those roles have to be able to be interchanged every once in a while, because in a relationship the problem with it is you can't always be an alpha. You can't.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just not possible.
Yeah, not possible.
Every once in a while, you have to learn to take a submissive role.
Okay.
That's in life. I can't say, okay, I'm an alpha, and when I go to work and my boss walks in and he's obviously supposed to be the one in charge, I can't take charge. I have to learn that submissive role.
Okay.
And if I didn't have someone that taught me that, then I have a problem.
Right.
Now, it gets really confusing when you have a single parent home where the mother or the father has to play dual roles. That's confusing.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be confusing to the kid.
So
for sure.
I know that, and people, if you're at this part of the show, you're like, well, what does this have to do with teachers back in heat? This has everything to do with, we wouldn't actually get to this point if children were raised correctly.
Right.
If they were raised with, respect, and I want to say, some parents, you need to let the teachers do what the teachers are doing. And when the teachers say, hey, young Timmy was, on his phone, that parent has responsibilities at home to address that.
Exactly.
And they need to, a good example is if you tell here's a good idea, have you ever heard the Mikey, I'm sure you heard this. Wait till your father gets home and I tell him what happens.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem with that. I think the person that's home should have been taking the role and
should be take care of it.
You shouldn't put it on the other person.
Exactly.
But it does happen. Now, that is actually very important for a teacher's role, because if that teacher tries to do something and say, hey, your kid did something wrong, we have to discipline them. If that parent doesn't follow through at home,
right,
that kid learns that, okay, I can do whatever I want and it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That's the problem. And what happens is that seed is planted in a very, very young age. Okay. And then you can learn who you can disrespect.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And unfortunately, when you start to learn that you could start disrespecting people, eventually there's going to get to the point where you keep raising that bar. And next thing you know, you're bringing a gun to the school, and Mr. Johnson has to cap you in the ass.
Or in the kneecap.
Yeah.
Which one would hurt more?
Kneecap or ass?
Yeah.
There's a lot of soft tissue in the ass.
Okay, so kneecap.
Well, kneecap, you could, I mean...
that'll bring you down, though.
It will for a moment, but then, you have to walk around in crutches and stuff like that. You pop someone in the ass, they can't sit down for a while. They might think about that.
That's true.
I don't know. Maybe that's a question for Chad. Chad, well, what hurts more, getting kneecapped or shot in the ass? I don't know. I hope. Do we have a listener that possibly got shot in the ass and the kneecap and can tell us what the difference is?
We want to know.
Inquiring minds would like to know this answer.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's kind of crazy. So, I'm horrified that we've got to this point, but I want to say it ultimately comes down to respect, and I think we have to go back and say, what are we doing with these kids in the beginning and fixing the problem before it gets to a school shooting situation?
Exactly. Yep.
And I want to say that has to do with, God, it's ultimately on the parents.
I think so too.
So
discipline your kids.
Yeah. So if you like our show, you like what we do, always follow us, like us on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and on X.
Isn't Instagram? No. Twitter is now X. Okay, never mind.
Did you confuse?
You confused me on that one, sorry.
How did I confuse you?
Well, I was thinking Instagram and X were the same thing, but I remember now Twitter is now X. So okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Instagram and Facebook are really connected.
Yeah. They are?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They are. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Can someone please help educate her?
Well, you can also listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, Amazon, Samsung, or any of your favorite podcast players.
Now, you could also watch our videos, and you could listen to us on YouTube, Rumble, and as long as it's up, TikTok. We do try to post a few of our shorts on there. So
we do, yep. So
I don't know, good show.
Good show.
You happy with that?
I am. That was pretty fun. It was a pretty interesting one. So
all right, I think that's our show.
All right, bye everybody.
If you like paranormal, true crime, and some cryptids, or just anything weird, check out Ouch, Was That a Ghost? Brought to you by your host, Liz. You can find Ouch, Was That a Ghost on Spotify, Apple, or any audio platform. New episodes drop every Thursday.